Can I ask you something honest? When your child refuses to do their homework or shuts down the moment things get hard, what's your first thought? If it's they're not putting in effort or they just don't care, I want you to stay with me today because I used to think that too, and I was wrong. What looks like not trying is almost always something else entirely. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Welcome to Dr. Wilson's Butterfly Talk, where we have real conversations about what it actually takes to raise a child who believes in themselves. I'm Dr. Wilson. I want to be upfront with you. I'm not a licensed therapist or a psychologist, but I am an educator who has worked with hundreds of students in real classrooms every single day. And I have spent over 20 years in the trenches working directly with students who were written off, overlooked, and misunderstood. And what I learned from those years, I want to give to you free right here. Today, we're talking about anxiety in children, specifically the kind that hides in plain sight, the kind that looks like attitude, the kind that looks like defiance, the kind that looks like your child just doesn't care. Because here's what I've come to believe after all these years: most of the time, the behavior is not the problem, the behavior is the message. And today, I want to help you learn how to read it. Let me tell you a little story. I want to tell you about a student I'll call Marcus. Marcus was bright. You could see it in the way he talked, the way he joked, the way he saw problems when there was no grade attached. But the moment you put a pencil in his hand and asked him to write something down, he disappeared. He'll start fidgeting, picking at the eraser, talking to the kid next to him, making the whole class laugh. And teachers like myself would say, Marcus has a behavior problem, or Marcus is a distraction, or Marcus isn't applying himself. And honestly, from the outside, that's exactly what it looked like. But one day I didn't correct him. I didn't redirect him. I didn't threaten consequences. I just sat next to Marcus quietly and I said, Marcus, what's the hardest part for you? He went quiet, not defensive, not dismissive, just quiet. And then after a long pause, he looked up at me and said something I have never forgotten. Dr. Wilson, if I try and I'm wrong, everybody's going to think I'm not smart. And matter of fact, they're going to know I'm not smart. He wasn't avoiding the work. He was avoiding the risk of being seen as less than. He had made a decision, probably without even realizing it, that not trying was safer than trying and being wrong in front of everyone. That moment changed the way I see every child who shuts down, every child who says, I don't care, every child who acts out right before a test or goes blank when you sit down to help him or to help them. I don't see excuses anymore. I see fear wearing a mask. See, here's the real problem. Here's what anxiety actually looks like in children because it really looks like anxiety. It looks like refuses to start an assignment. It looks like sudden stomach aches before school. It looks like meltdowns over small things. It looks like a child who used to love reading and now says, I hate it. It looks like the child who reads um, hardly none at home at school. It looks like a child who needs to go to the bathroom every time it's time to do some work. The child who picks up a fight or picks a fight right before they have to try something hard. The child who says, This is stupid, when they really means, I'm scared. Hmm. And when children feel that kind of fear, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of being embarrassed, their brain does something really important. It shifts into survival mode. When a child is in survival mode, they're not thinking about multiplication tables. They're not thinking about main idea of a passage and three supporting details. They could care less about that. They are not processing what their teacher just said. Their brain has one job and one job only: protect me. You cannot teach a child who is in survival mode, who can only help them feel safe first. Let me say that again. You can only help them feel safe first. Now, here's the part I need every parent to hear because this is where a lot of us, with the best intentions, make it harder without realizing it. When we push harder, when we say, You're smart, just try, When we get frustrated and raise our voice, we think we're motivating them. But to a child who is already afraid, that pressure confirms what they fear most, that failing in front of you is exactly as dangerous as they thought. And so they shut down further. This is not a character flaw. It is not defiance. It is not a reflection of your parenting. It is a signal. And the question is not, how do I make them behave? The question is, what is my child's behavior trying to tell me? Here are some solutions. What can you do today? So, what can you actually do, like right now, with no degree, no training, no extra money, and probably no extra time? I'm going to give you three things. They are small, they are free, and they work, not because they're magic, but because they address the real issue. Your child needs to feel safe before they can learn. Strategy number one, change one sentence. Stop asking, "Did you finish your work?" and start asking, "What felt hard today?" That one shift changes everything. It tells your child you are not there to inspect them or grade them. You are here to understand them. Here's the swap. Again, instead of, "Why didn't you finish this?" try saying, "What part felt the hardest for you?" You might be surprised what they tell you when they don't feel like they're being put on trial. Strategy number two, the 10-minute no pressure sit. You don't need a tutoring session. You don't need to know the material. You just need 10 minutes of being present without criticism. Sit near them, let them try. Don't jump in to correct every mistake. And when they struggle, and they will, say this: "It's okay to learn it step by step." That's what learning actually looks like. That one sentence does something very, very powerful. It separates their worth from their performance. It tells them struggling doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're learning. Over time, that message rewires how they see effort, and that changes everything. Strategy number three, name the feeling out loud for them. Sometimes children don't have words for what they're feeling, their bodies are flooded, their thoughts are scattered, and all they know is that something feels very wrong. You could give them the words. Try saying, "I wonder if it feels a little scary to try something when you're not sure if you'll get it right." You're not diagnosing them, you're not labeling them, you're showing them that their feelings make sense, and most importantly, that you are someone they can be honest with. When a child feels understood, their nervous system settles. And when their nervous system settles, their brain can finally do what you've been asking it to do all along. Safety comes before strategy. Once a child feels safe, learning opens up on its own. In closing, I want to leave you with this. If your child has been shutting down, if they've been acting like they don't care, if they've been avoiding, deflecting, or exploding over small things, please don't write it off as attitude. Let me say that again. Please don't write it off as attitude. Please don't take it personally. See, it is a child who wants to succeed but hasn't yet been given a safe enough space to try. And you, right now, just by listening to this, you are already building that space. The fact that you showed up at this conversation today, that matters. Your child needs that version of you far more than they need a perfect parent. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present. So here's my call to action for you. If something in this episode hit home, share it with one other parent today. Not five, just one. Because one parent who hears this might change the way they talk to their child tonight. And that ripple, that one conversation matters more than any like or follow could ever. A new episode of Dr. Wilson Butterfly Talk will drop every week. Subscribe on Spotify so you never miss one. And if you have a question or a story you'd like me to address on the show, reach out. I read every message. Until next time, keep showing up for your children, keep growing alongside them, and always remember every child can bloom when given the right conversation in the right environment.